Jager. He is a tennis analyst and is going to be talking to us about the biggest news, I should imagine, in tennis history, or rather recent tennis history. And that, of course, has to do with obviously Novak Djokovic becoming embroiled in controversy earlier this year, as we all know, after attempting to enter Australia without a valid vaccination exemption, and his views as an anti vaxxer. He has really strong views about it. And obviously, we now hearing that he might also forego the chance to be the greatest player ever to have picked up a racket statistically, because you feel so strongly about this jab. It's a huge price he seems to be willing to pay. Is this good sense or not? Or is it about being principled, believing in something and not deterring from your belief? John Laffnie De Jager, very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Morning, dude. Thank you for having me.
Lovely to have you on the show. And do you think that, okay, principles aside, obviously this is a very principled young man. He has told the BBC that he he hasn't received any vaccinations for COVID-19. He goes on to say, I was never against vaccination. I understand that globally, and I quote, I understand that globally everyone is trying to put a big effort into handling this virus and seeing hopefully an end to it. But I personally do not want to have this vaccine in my body. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, actually, what he said is he doesn't want people to tell him what he needs to do. He wants to have his own choice of getting the vaccine or not. Because I mean, he's not anti-vaccine. I mean, when he had his tournament, he had a vaccine drive at his tournament. So for somebody that, if you're anti-vaxxer, you won't be doing stuff like that. You know, it's a tough call for him because, obviously it could be the end of his career. If it's going where it's going now, he won't be able to play a lot of tournaments. I've been fortunate. I know him well. He played in teams that I've coached. I'm friends with him, and he's just somebody that stands on his principles. I mean, he's really, he made a massive change in his fitness, in the way he eats, what he puts into his body. So it's not that, he's against a vaccine, but then the guy's eating, junk food and eating sweets. He's really very particular about the stuff that he puts in his body, and he just has a stand on it. And it'll be interesting to see everybody. He's like now, he's like the bad guy now. I mean, all that he's saying is that it's not that I'm against it. I just want to have the choice if I want to do this or not. And yeah, I mean, you have to, right or wrong. I take my hat off for him because he stands with his beliefs. He's not somebody that money or fame is not going to change the way he thinks. I mean, I respect that, but it's a very interesting call because he's definitely going to give up the chance of becoming the greatest tennis player ever.
Obviously, you've just pointed out he's not an anti-vaxxer. He's just all about pro-choice. If he believes it's not right for him, he doesn't believe in it fully, he's not going to put that into his body. And as you've indicated, that he's very health, body, fitness conscious. So if he feels that's not right for him, he's not going to go that way because he's very, very principled. I also like to quote something else he said on that BBC interview. And I quote, because the principles of decision making on my body are more important than any title or anything else, I'm trying to be in tune with my body as much as I possibly can. So I'm wondering, John, in terms of this decision, and his fitness and the well-being of his body, if this decision is going to put an end to his career, is he still going to put such a premium on his health and well-being? What happens thereafter? Let's assume he falls out of this international circuit. What do you see him doing going forward?
I mean, he's a global celebrity. I mean, he definitely has
Of
enough
course.
money. I think he's He has enough, he can literally do anything that he wants to do in his own country. I mean, he's a massive support. We can see how the president of Serbia, came out and supports people that supports him. I mean, what he specifically will do, I don't know. But I mean, Novak is a great guy. He cares about, doing stuff for other people, making life better. I mean, you just saw how much he's actually done, money-wise, donated to help people that struggled with COVID, buying, equipment for hospitals in Serbia. So it'll be interesting to see if he can't play, because it's a real reality now for him that he won't be able to play in the French Open and Wimbledon. I mean, US Open is the same, because, to get into the US, you have to be fully vaccinated. He did say in that interview as well, it's like he's keeping his option open. He'll look at it. He was vaccinated when he grew, when he was little, so it's not that he's against it. But it's going to be tough to see. I think the more people pressurize him, the more people criticize him, the more he's just going to show them that, I will not fold. I will not go with the group and just do it and take, like one tennis player said, take one for the team. He's not one that will just take one for the team. He stands on his principles. I would like to see him play, because I think it will be awesome, to have Roger, Rafa, and Novak competing as long as possible, and to see who's the greatest player. I mean, it's amazing to think that, in this era we have three players that, together they've won 61 Grand Slams. Tennis is not the same when you don't have those three players playing. We saw in Australia, I mean, it was great that, Rafa ended up winning, but it would have been so much better, if Novak was in the draw as well, and Roger. We know Roger is injured, and hopefully, he can get over his injuries, because, he's such a massive, personality, and, he arguably, people say he's the greatest, because, not just on court his results, but I mean, what he's done, his presence, Roger's a massive name. So I would love to see all three of them play. It makes it so much better for the young up-and-coming tennis players that's coming. They want to compete against the best players on a daily basis. So it will be unfortunate to see Novak not in the draws because he doesn't want to get vaccinated.
Okay, so he's willing to forego skip the French Open, obviously, and Wimbledon, because he's a very principled man. And obviously, with this outcry all around the world, it's almost as if he's not going to be, he's not going to be possibly, in inverted commas, bullied into taking the vaccine. But I kind of seem to be getting mixed messages, because on the one hand, he expresses his very principled stance regarding his choices regarding his body and what he puts into it. On the other hand, as you said, he's done a lot. He's given a lot in charity to hospitals and, the well-being of COVID patients. So I'm kind of wondering why. It's almost a mixed message, is it not?
Yeah, if you look at it that way, I mean, if you care about it, you will protect other people as well. I mean, so in that sense, I don't know how he sees that. I just know that his biggest thing and what he's talking about is that, don't force me to do something, that let me make my own decision. And the more people are forcing him to do it, the more he's stubborn. It's like, I think it's like that, the dad tells the daughter, you will not date that guy. You will not date that guy. And then what does she do? That's the only guys that she wants to date. When you tell them not to do something, they go out and they're rebels. So maybe when people just leave Novak alone, you'll get the vaccination, and everybody will be happy. But the sad thing for me is, I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's focusing on Novak. There's a lot of great players out there playing at the moment, and hopefully we can come back and focusing on the great players that's playing this beautiful sport that's called tennis that we all love. And we don't want every tournament there needs to be a controversy about one player. I mean, and sure, I don't think Novak is the type of guy that say, listen, I want all the the shine to be on me. Unfortunately, that happened in Australia. Everybody was just talking about Novak, and there was, there's great matches and unbelievable finals. And hopefully, going forward, that will not be the case. Whenever Novak is entering in the tournament, I know the next controversial one will be Indian Wells, because they've made it clear we play team tennis there in November. You're not allowed to enter the stadium if you're not fully vaccinated. So all the players need to be vaccinated, their family, their support staff. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 2 weeks.
And of course, people who are pro-vaxxers would kind of feel that he's as well intentioned as he might be, he is putting other people at risk, people that he comes into contact with on a daily basis. And they always, all of these physicians, endocrinologists, and all these medical experts tell us as well, don't think of yourself, think about the people around you, your loved ones. So if you vaccinate, yes, you're protecting yourself as well, but you are protecting those closest to you, the elderly, the frail, the little ones, and so forth. And I guess in the same breath, I can also say he can afford, literally and figuratively, Djokovic can afford to take the stance that he's taking because he is a celebrity and he's a millionaire or a billionaire in his own right. But the message he's putting out there is the key question, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, but my thing is, I mean, this is the thing about Australia. Australians, 93% of the country was vaccinated, but there was 51,000 people that were that was positive at that stage. So people that are vaccinated, you can be a threat to other people. So if you're vaccinated or not, you're actually just protecting yourself and you're protecting, obviously, the hospital system. So, I mean, for me, I personally don't buy it when they say just, people are scared of somebody that's not vaccinated, because if you're the only vaccinated person, people or unvaccinated people can give the virus to somebody else, which is fine. But we know that if you're vaccinated or not, people can get it from you. The thing is that people are making it a massive thing, like years kind of like when Novak Djokovic shows up at a tennis tournament, suddenly, everybody needs to be scared because, he can give you the virus. I mean, I think that's unfair that they're making such a big thing out of it. At the end of the day, for me, it's just, what do you need to do? I mean, I know if I want to work, I need to get vaccinated. So I'm vaccinated. I've got my booster shot. He has a different stance, and I think what we need to do as people, and I think around the world, not just with this, people need to respect everybody else's opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but if you don't agree with somebody's decision now, you can't suddenly start breaking him down, calling him names, And I think that's what's happening in our world, and that's unfortunate. People can't respect somebody else's decision and say, listen, if Novak doesn't want to take the vaccine, I don't agree with it. But that's his decision, and he needs to live with the consequences. And if that means that you can't play in Grand Slams, sorry, that's your decision, and we go forward. But I mean, it is actually brutal now. If you just on social media, the anti-Djokovic fans or the Federer and Nadal fans are taking this guy apart. I mean, and so it's now becoming the battle of the supporters, and it's getting ugly, and that's unfortunate because at the end of the day, there's I believe that there's much bigger things and important things than bashing each other on social media.
And John, I think you would agree with me that this it's kind of it can break you down psychologically when you see all of this stuff out on social media platforms. Doesn't matter how strong you are and how great you might be, but it can break you down to a certain extent. That's the one statement from me. And then also, he's 34 years old now. What is the lifespan of a tennis player of his caliber? And his fitness level. Do you think that if he takes a leave of absence because of all of this furore regarding the vaccine, if he takes a leave of absence and comes back in a couple of years' time, 2 3 years' time, or a couple of months' time, would he be able to cut the grade? What is a tennis player's lifespan? Hasn't he reached his peak already?
Well, Roger Federer is 40 years old. I mean, Novak has 6 years to go. He's 3 years younger than Rafa Nadal. And we've seen with Rafa and Roger where they've taken 6 7 months off and come back and, win a Grand Slam. So, when it comes to mental fitness and body fitness, Novak is probably the best in the world. So if there is anybody that can take time off and come back and even be more successful, it is Novak Djokovic. And all this controversy, all this negative stuff, it is tough on him and tough on his family. But if there's one guy that can handle it, it's him. So, Roger has shown us that they can take time off and come back and even be better. That it's brutal to play for 30 weeks of the year. Every week in, week out, people are coming to you. They want to beat you. You've got to be at your best. So the guys at the top, when it comes to that, they at a different level. And if you tell me now Novak can't play for 2 years, and he'll come, I'll say he'll come back in 2 years' time, and he'll be competitive, and you'll compete for Grand Slams. So I don't think that will affect him. But we all know how quickly things change. Maybe by May, the world is different, and it's changing on a weekly basis. So I think he's also hoping that, at some stage that, they will say, listen, we go back to normal. But, I don't think we're going to get away from the vaccination. So, it's going to be a tough call for him. And I think it's a tough road ahead for him with the decision that he needs to make and all the, negativity that's around that.
Okay, we're going to leave it there, and let's hope and pray that, soon we'll be over this pandemic and people like Djokovic and other people can carry on, and the rest of the world can carry on with business as usual. John Laffnie De Jager, tennis analyst, thank you indeed for your time and your insights on this issue. Go well. 9:36 exactly, news and views right here on Salam Media. Next, we'll be talking with Dr. Malloy regarding the celebration of Wits University's 100th year in existence.